You can't even be asked to vote.
Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're counting down our picks for the rudest, most obnoxious and most belligerent famous guests on BBC's Newsnight who received repercussions from the host, the media or viewers for their behaviour. We'll be including celebrities, politicians and other public figures.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Number 10. Craig Hoy.
I don't think poverty anywhere in Scotland is acceptable. And I think
The polarising topic of Brexit, with the UK leaving the EU, is a regular discussion point for Newsnight. In 2024, the programme went to Paisley, Scotland, for a live show. During it, host Kirsty Walk asked the audience if anyone had been better off since the last general election.
Well, I want to take some more questions, but first of all, can I just ask you, hands up, if you feel better off since the last general election? Right, OK.
No one raised their hand. Yikes. MSP and Scottish Conservatives chairman Hoy then suggested that the issues, such as recessions and inflation, could be due to the pandemic instead of Brexit.
which of those relate directly to Brexit and which of those relate to the COVID pandemic is not entirely sure. But
Groans ran out from the audience. Trying to save face, Hoy claimed Brexit helped with the vaccine rollout, which has been heavily disputed. His statement, once again, brought out the frustration of the crowd.
vaccine and roll it out here in the United Kingdom.
That's not true.
Number 9. Kenneth Baker.
Look, my advice to him is...
If you're going to be on live TV for an interview, one of the first things you need to do is turn off your mobile phone, or at the very least, make it silent. For Baron Baker of Dorking, this isn't something he'll likely forget again.
AYE. And so...
In 2023, the Tory peer was interviewed by Victoria Derbyshire about the condition of the Conservative Party. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times did Baker's phone ring. After the second time it blared a tune, Baker handed it to Derbyshire to turn it off, who seemingly confiscated it from the Baron while lightly scalding him.
Weak.
On for 2 months.
And I think it was really trying to get through to me, isn't he?
Someone is telling you to...
After the 4th call, the host moved to end the interview and returned the disputing device to Baker.
And there's your phone, and thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Number 8. Anthony Scaramucci.
I think part of his nature is that he's a very tough person. And I mean by tough, I mean it in a good way.
For a whopping 10 days, Scaramucci worked as then President Donald Trump's White House Director of Communications. During his brief reign, the Mooch, as he's nicknamed, appeared on Newsnight to talk to Emily Maitlis, and it was bonkers. One big talking point was Scaramucci comparing Trump's attempt to remove Obamacare to Abraham Lincoln abolishing slavery.
How about
He's
the
a billionaire.
cheeseburgers? How about the pizza that we're eating?
Everyone eats cheeseburgers and pizzas. What are you talking about?
See, you're coming across a little bit elitist, so let me just say something to you, okay?
When Maitlis asked him about Trump's status as elite, Scaramucci responded by mentioning Trump eating cheeseburgers and pizzas. Right. The Newsnight host asked him what he was talking about, since everyone consumes those, only for the director to brand her elitist.
I'm having a lot of fun, okay? I love my country. I told people at a press conference last week that people work with me. No one has ever worked for me. I'm about collaboration and getting the people around me to win. And so I'm super excited to be here.
On top of social media rinsing Scaramucci, 5 days later, he was fired from his White House job. Number 7. Mizzy.
When it happened, I took accountability for my actions and I went there the next day and apologised to the woman off social media. Because you guys need to understand, like, I'm here for a reason.
In 2023, the UK media jumped on social media practical joker Mizzy, also known as Bakari Bronzo Garo, after a series of controversial stunts caused him to be publicly criticised and fall into legal hot water. With the grim Andrew Tate allegations and the BBC interviewing him, Mizzy was brought onto Newsnight to discuss the scandalous influencer.
He takes profiting, certainly.
Lizzie's profiting.
Really tantamount to a...
While Mizzy slated the Beeb for platforming him and Tate, he didn't help himself by proudly saying he was profiting from the controversy and celebrating. Plus, Mizzy stole Kirsty Walk's water.
Is this your water? It's my water now.
It's fine.
I totally agree with...
It was a mess. The public chastised the BBC for allowing Mizzy on such a big platform. Number 6. Norman Bettison. It's not often a person's lies are caught less than a minute after an interview begins, but that's what happened to Bettison.
Chief Constable, you said you have nothing to hide yesterday. Do you want to repeat those words on camera?
I don't have anything to hide.
The former police officer was involved in the 1989 Hillsborough disaster, where football fans lost their lives when a crush ensued. Infamously, the police tried blaming the supporters in the press until the truth quickly came out. In 2016, Bettison released his book, Hillsborough Untold, about his disputed version of events, and went on to Newsnight to discuss it. Immediately, Evan Davis asked him about often describing his role in the disaster as peripheral.
To the best of my knowledge, I used the word once, and I used it very specifically.
Bettison dismissed it, stating he'd only used the term once.
I think you used it in a letter to Newsnight in 1999 when you were requested for an interview.
Right.
Davis pointed out he hadn't, and had used it in a 1999 letter to Newsnight. Bettison was deflated immediately. Number 5. George Osborne. Jeremy Paxman is one of the UK's most confrontational TV hosts of all time, as he's butted heads regularly with guests on Newsnight. In 2012, then Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne announced a delay in increasing fuel duty. Instead of going on to defend his stance, Osborne sent Economic Secretary to the Treasury Chloe Smith to face Paxman.
Gory details
did it happen
of political
today?
processes. I can't sit here and tell
remember?
you
And she wasn't prepared.
Well, why isn't it appropriate? You're coming here to defend a change of policy, and you can't even tell me when you were told what the change of policy was.
Because
Smith was out of her depth in explaining why the delay was issued and when she found out about it, which Paxman pounced upon during a very uncomfortable segment.
Why didn't the Transport Secretary know about it yesterday?
It's important that the government, excuse me,
Various politicians publicly slated Osborne for sending Smith out, accusing the Chancellor of hiding from scrutiny. The then Prime Minister David Cameron even had to come out and defend Osborne's actions.
Are you waiting to be told that as well?
No, because...
You know, do you?
Number 4. Russell Brand.
But is it true you don't even vote?
Yeah, no, I don't vote.
Well, how do you have any authority to talk about politics then?
In 2013, the controversial comedian and actor spoke to Paxman on Newsnight about his published essay on revolution. During it, the host questioned him about his statement that he doesn't vote due to disillusionment with the political system.
What are you saying? There's no alternative? There's no alternative?
No, I'm not
just this
saying
system.
that. I'm saying if you
Brilliant.
can't be asked to vote, why should we be asked to listen to your political point of view?
At one point, Paxman referred to Brand as a very trivial man. While Brand did get some support for his views, one who didn't agree was Robert Webb. In an essay, the Peep Show star slated him for encouraging people to not vote, suggesting Brand should read George Orwell's work to educate himself. In 2015, Paxman put any potential sympathies he allegedly had for Brand to bed by describing him as an idiot and finding it strange that anyone would take his opinion seriously.
You don't really believe that.
I completely believe it. Don't look at me all weary, like you're at a fireside.
Number 3. Michael Howard. This interview between the future leader of the Conservative Party and Jeremy Paxman on Newsnight has gone down in political history. In 1997, an inquiry into the 1995 escape of 3 prisoners at HM Prison Parkhurst before being recaptured was published.
I haven't answered the question whether you threatened to overrule him.
During Howard's interview, Paxman questioned whether the former Home Secretary had pressured the head of the prison service, Derek Lewis, to sack the prison's governor. Howard denied the accusation, but Paxman wasn't done.
Sorry, I'm going to be frightfully rude, but
yes, you can.
I'm sorry. It's a quick, straight yes or no.
Question, and I would give you an answer.
Did you threaten to overrule him?
Altogether, the legendary host asked the politician 12 times. This interview was described as a contribution to stalling Howard's political career for several years. During the host's final Newsnight broadcast in 2014, Howard made a brief cameo to reference their infamous interview.
With respect, you haven't answered the question whether you threatened to overrule him.
Well, you see...
Number 2. Peter Hitchens.
Okay, so...
I didn't come here to be quiet.
Neither did I.
No,
I didn't come here to listen to ludicrous things like that either.
After Matthew Perry's unfortunate passing in 2023, his iconic battle on Newsnight took over the internet. In 2013, the show ran a segment on substance abuse, and that some courts have former users sit in as lay magistrates in cases. Perry, who has a history in the topic, argued in favour, while controversial commentator Hitchens did not.
And it's a belief that you wrote in your book. correct?
You have a choice over whether you drink or not. You have a choice over.
But your book is the only book in modern times that has this ideology.
Yeah.
So doesn't that teach you something?
The journalist disagreed that dependency was a disease, which riled up Perry. The Friends star retorted that it was as ludicrous as saying Peter Pan is real. Reportedly, Perry and Hitchens had to leave the building through different exits due to how heated it got. In his 2022 memoir, Perry described the journalist as a complete tool.
They have to be sober to make that decision. They can't be. They can't be intoxicated to make that
How
decision.
is it that people ever cease to be addicts if what you say is true?
Well, Santa.
Number 1, Prince Andrew.
That was December of 2010.
Yep.
He threw a party to celebrate his release, and you were invited as
No,
the
I didn't
guest
go.
of honour.
Oh, in 2010? That certainly wasn't a party.
In 2019, after years of scrutiny of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and accusations of abuse from Virginia Giuffre, Prince Andrew went onto Newsnight for an interview with Emily Maitlis to, in his view, remove any doubt to his apparent innocence. However, that's not what happened. Andrew added so much fuel to the fire, it was astonishing.
Because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time.
Key points include him stating he can't sweat, as Giuffre claimed, because of an adrenaline overdose during the Falklands War, and defending his friendship with Epstein. The media and public immediately slated the prince for his apparent lack of remorse. The disastrous interview caused the royal family to remove Andrew from public duty and opened him up to be sued by Giuffre, which he settled in 2022.
I'm trying to think what else we've got, but it's well.
What's the strangest ending to a Newsnight broadcast?
Well, now you're being facetious.
Kirsty Walk dancing to Michael Jackson's Thriller, Brian Cox swearing at the viewers, Lego, Jeremy Paxman, or something else? Let us know below.